We'll get started here in just a minute. This topic's going to be 360 resources, 360 images, 360 videos, and where to find them. Looks like we've got about 1 minute to go. Hi, my name is Jody Johnston. I work for the Blue Valley School District in Overland Park, Kansas. And one of the things the last couple of years that I really took an interest in and wanted to develop for our district. Hi, my name is Jody Johnston. I work for the Blue Valley School. So, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about and that I've been working on for the last couple of years is 360 videos, 360 images, how we can integrate those into our classrooms. I wanted to know how that would work for our teachers. And at first it seemed like it would be really expensive. And then I realized how many free resources there are already out there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I have a slideshow of a Google slide that I'm going to give you the link to, and then all of the links to the resources that we use in our district are in that. Let me see if I can get my screen sharing up here for us. Okay, I will share my screen for a moment. It'll look funny, and then you'll see what I see. So what we're going to talk about are just simple 360 resources and where you would find them. I love a good sketch note, and they made the best one last year for virtual reality in the classroom. These are all the reasons that I love virtual reality. Of course, the obvious one, that you're taking your students somewhere that you couldn't go. We live in Kansas, which is very landlocked, prairie geography. We don't, we can't drive to the ocean. It takes 5 hours really to get to the mountains. So virtual field trips are a way for me to take kids places without ever leaving the classroom. That second one where it says develop empathy for communities in crisis by stepping into their shoes, that is a big one. I didn't realize how powerful that would be until we took some of our high school students to places with USA Today and the New York Times. They were able to go through a homeless camp and a refugee camp. We went to Africa where they were doing some resources for how to get water from the air and water collection places and places with no wells and desert type environments. We took kids to career day things that they could never before have done. We went with loggers. We were with pilots of steamships navigating in and out of bays in the Gulf of Mexico, that kind of thing. Really, really a cool experience if you've not delved into virtual reality in the classroom. And most of the things we did were free. These are my favorite news media resources. The USA Today VR Stories is great, and the New York Times does a daily VR. So let's just take a look at that one. On the slideshow, I've got the tiny URL at the bottom, and I'll post that afterwards in the finished video, and then I'll put it on the Mad TV session note as well. Because if you click the New York Times link, it'll open up the New York Times website for us. So the Daily 360 is, we talked about things jobs that didn't exist 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think being a 360 journalist or a 360 cameraman were really a thing until the last couple of years. And now it's a big industry. It takes different equipment. It's a different type of reporting. You never know what you're going to find on there. So as a teacher, you really have to find the sites, visit the sites regularly, find out what they've got out there. One of my favorites was behind the scenes in the Natural History Museum. So if you research that and you're working on things, the video, I can change the view. Most of these are narrated, which is great.
Scientists come here to study the fossil. The ichthyology department has more than 2 million fish kept in.
So that gives you an idea, right? The Daily 360 picks something that they would have just written a flat static article about, but now it's completely immersive. I was able to change my view the entire time I was watching or presenting this. So as a teacher, I could present this to the whole class on my projector system, or this is a link that I could embed into our LMS, or that I could put into a Google slide for self-paced. Maybe it was a center or something, or it can be homework. Check out this link, and we're going to talk about this in class the next day. It just adds some context to what they're learning. One of the other sites on that page that I really like, USA Today has an entire VR section that they also update all year round. And again, these are all just websites. I'm just doing this on my computer. I could project it if I wanted to. We look at the recent stories for them. We've got You Could Ride with the Blue Angels. The last couple of years when Cuba started to open up, that was a hot topic. We loved this one in high school government. We were playing it in high school social studies. And these, again, are narrated. Completely customizable. So that gives you an idea of what you can do there. That's pretty amazing that now, instead of just watching a documentary, we can play this, but then the audience can completely move around. You can hit pause, you can stop, you can talk about what was this, what did he just say? What was the significance of that? And you can turn around, you can look at architecture. There's just so many things that you can get from an interactive experience like a VR video than with just a static presentation. And all of these, NBC, I believe CBS now has one since I made this slide. The BBC has great VR content. NPR Life magazine has a wonderful Pearl Harbor experience that you can do for history class. Usually I do this presentation for an hour and I go through all of them, but we're just going to skip through the highlights today. These are the sites that I like to go to just get. Some of the times it's just a panoramic image I want. Other times I'm looking for something specific. Round Me is a favorite, and that's not something that's blocked. The kids can get to it easily. I'm just going to go to their Explore section. And again, you never know what you're going to find. As a teacher, you have to just really dive into some of these places. The rainforest one is really good. Valley of the Gods, we've done when we were talking about landforms and we were talking about types of erosion. What's cool about Air Pano and Round Me is, you see, I'm not touching this at all right now. It's made to scroll. So if I was on a system that didn't have the ability for the audience to play around, it's going to move for me. But if I take control of my mouse, I can decide where I want to look. If I want to zoom in, I can. But if I let go, in a couple minutes, it will start to pan for me. And again, this is just a website URL address. So if I was doing a research project on this location, the students could take that URL, they could embed it or hyperlink it into a Google slide, a Google Doc, anything that they were making. And now when you're presenting it to an audience, your audience is getting a 360 experience as you talk about what we're doing. And again, on these, you find something that you need to talk about, you hit pause, and you can talk for as long as you want about what you're pointing out. So it's really good to get specific into the content. 360 cities, you can just search what city you want. Air Panos, pretty great. They put their videos on YouTube. They also have just panoramic ones. Let's see what they've got new right now. Let's see. And these are narrated also. And you'll notice this one lives on YouTube, which we're going to talk about next. I can change my view. I can hit pause. It's pretty amazing. And again, those, you can just tap the one that you want, embed it. 360 Cities does something just a teeny tiny bit different. Let's say, here, we'll just do the one that comes up. You can tell it you want to go full screen. You can go anywhere you want. Some of them are narrated, some of them aren't. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. And you'll notice up here, if you have VR headsets or Google Cardboard, you click that, it'll change it to the VR mode. If I want to embed this into my own presentation, I can copy that. Very easy to take any of this content and put it into your own presentation or have the students use this for a place to get video content. I get most of mine from YouTube because all of the places we've talked about have a YouTube channel. So it kind of puts them all in there for me. And what I did, because I was worried about the kids, there's some really bad adult content out there that you have to be mindful of. So I made our own playlist. So if you click the green apple, that's the Blue Valley. We called them Tinker Tubs. We have VR headsets. They could check them out, check them out, see if they liked it. If you go to the playlist, you can see that I've pre-made a bunch of topics. I have history ones with the World War II and World War I. I have space, places. The animals are great. The younger kids are always doing adaptations. When we talked about elephants, sometimes there's an ad you have to skip on these. You have to wait 3 or 4 seconds to get clear of the ad. And this one is by Discovery. The GoPro is just right there at the watering hole. So they had already researched animals, and they had to know, were they solitary? Did they live in family units? How did they treat their young? What did they eat? Where did they live? You can find all those things. This bull elephant will come right up to the GoPro. In fact, in a little bit, he'll come up and he'll wrap his trunk right around it. And if you go full screen, and you do this on the projector, the first graders' mouths just drop open and they will start to talk in first person about when we saw the elephant, when the elephant reached out to grab us. And we can hit pause. We can start talking about what are we seeing with his trunk? What do we recognize about his feet? And on this one, after they leave the watering hole, they walk out together. But what we wanted to learn in this one is, oh my gosh, look, they're moving as a group. They don't live by themselves. There's like a juvenile elephant at the end, and he'll come up to the camera. It's just stunning up close content that you wouldn't get at the zoo even. Really brings something new to the lesson when you're talking about animal research and animal adaptations. I have one with a Komodo dragon that it'll come right up and walk over the GoPro, and I can see its scales, I see its forked tongue, and we can talk about it. There are some really great science 360 videos on YouTube. And again, once it plays, you are totally in control, even as a member of the audience. You can hit pause, talk about what you're seeing in more in depth. And again, if I weren't on my laptop, if I were on a mobile device, down here there would be a Google Cardboard icon, and I could activate Google Cardboard, and then everybody who's watching this video would be seeing it, you know, on their, they'd have the headset, so it's a complete 360 experience. Each one of these, if you click on the icons, it will open up that site specifically. YouTube has a bunch of things. Facebook has a bunch of YouTube or live 360 videos as well. And what's nice is if you're Google users, like so many of us are, you can take those YouTube videos and play them right in. If I click that, it's inside my Google slide that I have. You can tell this is Air Pano, which is, again, saved on YouTube. Inside the slideshow, the kids don't have to go out and go to YouTube. We've embedded this Egyptian video right in it. When we were doing Martin Luther King Day, we embedded a slide. We had a slide with all of the facts and things that they were going to do for their reports. But then we said, who would like to go see the new memorial that's in Washington, D.C.? Nobody had seen it in person. So it's, you go full screen, you dim the lights, you're sitting there. It feels like you went to visit this exhibit. Mount Rushmore is a great place to visit as well. Nearpod also has an entire section of VR. So if you're a Nearpod user, or even if you haven't, check out Nearpod. And when you search in the catalog, search the word VR, and it'll give you a catalog of all the VR lessons that they have. Lots of good stuff in there. Google Earth is probably the one I use the most. And I've got Google Earth already up. Anytime we are reading a story that has a location that matters, or anything where geography or location really impacts the story. If I'm with a bunch of kids from Kansas who have not been to the jungle, or who haven't been to the desert, or haven't been lost in the forest, going there as an introduction to that unit is amazing. I don't know, let's see, Redwood, try what Redwood National. Oops. YouTube has done something new this year. It's as great as it always was, but now you can actually share the location in 360. So you zoom in just like you always did, but when you have your guy and you click him and it shows where. Any of the places that have the blue dots now are things that people have taken a 360 sphere video. And every single location now that you land in Google Earth is something that you can get a link and put that link into your Google slide. So if in a story, the little girl got lost in the woods, you can land here, look around, and think about, do trees in Kansas look this big? And if you like that location, you come over here to the share, you click share, you say get the link, you copy the link. You can put that link anywhere now. It can be a hyperlink in my slide. I can put it anywhere I want. Well, that is our 15 minutes. It's a lot of things to go over. But again, I'll put the Google, I have the tiny URL up here, and I will add this to all the things after this session is over. I'm going to go back to the live here for a minute, see if I can see that again. Stop my screen sharing. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to anybody that has any questions. You can also find me on Twitter. It's Johnston_Jodie, Jodie.